Hogwarts Legacy is close, like super close to release. We've ripped apart almost everything the devs have to show us, but today, we'd like to try something a bit different. Hey there friends, it's Kodiak here, welcome back to Legacy Gaming. Today, we're revealing 5 things from our wish list we think could be great additions to the game and downright fun ways to immerse ourselves even more in the wizarding world. Before we jump in, I want to highlight our previous Hogwarts Legacy wishlist video. The wizarding world has so much to offer, and we keep coming up with ways we'd love to see the game expand in the future. So if you haven't seen that one, definitely go check it out, as we'd love to know what you think. As we said in that first video, we don't necessarily think any of these systems or features will become a reality, especially not on release. Between scope creep and developer resources, some things just aren't feasible, especially if you can't commit to supporting these long term. These ideas are more pipe dreams than anything else, things that we think could enhance the game, make it more enjoyable, and ultimately more immersive. With that in mind, let's go through our list. The first idea is something most likely already on everyone's radar, especially if you've played a game in any capacity in the last, well, ever. We know how bad it feels to pour hours and hours into a game only to come out the other side with nothing to show for it, at least nothing meaningful. Now I get that this can be subjective to the person playing, but come on, I think we can all agree that spending 20 hours searching for all of those collectibles shouldn't just net you something like a cosmetic hat. We want to see game rewards that make you feel like you've actually accomplished something truly worth chasing. Be it completing the game across all difficulties, collecting every single item tracked in collectibles, completing every side mission, even something as simple as exploring the entire map. Give us something to show for it that tells us it was worth the time and effort. How about a new spell, an extra fast mount, currencies, rare ingredients for making that end game potion, or even access to new pieces of content? Because Hogwarts Legacy is a single-player game, the team doesn't really have to worry about multiplayer balance, which is a huge factor when added into everything else within a new game. It's one less hurdle the team has to overcome, and they should account for that. Showering people with cosmetics or titles in a multiplayer setting announces to others that you've achieved something great, but in a single-player experience, who the heck cares? I know I did that awesome thing, so give me something that affects my gameplay and makes it more enjoyable, changes the experience a bit, and something even better, opens up additional gameplay options. The lore even has a built-in way to track achievement points and make it engaging in the form of the House Cup, which would be an awesome way to integrate achievements into some sort of system that rewards the player for their actions. It's a bit of a stretch, but you could then even spend those points on a catalog of rewards, allowing the player to truly pick out the specific reward that caters to their playstyle, be it a cosmetic, a mount, ingredient, you name it. There are a slew of ways to approach this, and at the end of the day, we just hope Portkey Games understands how big of an opportunity this really is. Alright, let's talk about gear. We know we'll have the ability to take pieces of gear we obtain and then identify them in the Room of Requirement, and at some point unlock the Loom, which then grants us the ability to modify that gear. Let's put that aside for a minute and just focus on the gear pieces themselves. I'd love to see gear sets. More specifically, gear sets that cater to a playstyle or that provide advantages in a particular scenario. Let's say throughout your journey you confront a boss or a mob type that utilizes a certain school of magic or pattern of attack. Gear could be one solution to help you overcome that obstacle, but not just in a power sense. Because Hogwarts Legacy is such a unique RPG setting, you could tie gear to different powers and secondary effects that add a new dimension to the action. It's not that your spells just have a slightly stronger attack, but perhaps that attack now allows you to teleport a short distance away after each cast. It's things like that developers could tap into, allowing players to really fiddle with their kits and create a loadout that's specific to their playstyle or the challenges they face. Now, I see something like this really only playing out on the harder difficulties, and it would truly depend on how hard they made this versus something like story or easy mode. But let's face it, this isn't a Souls game where min-maxing is going to be a driving factor. Sure, there will be builds to a degree, but having the option to chase gear sets that drastically change the player experience is a much more enjoyable solution for those looking to chase that added layer of depth. Let's look at this also from a transmog perspective. There's no question that Portkey should allow us to use any appearance as transmog as soon as we get it. I really hope there's no lock on this, no gatekeeping, but let's just imagine if collecting a whole set of gear also added an additional appearance bonus, such as a wand effect to go with it, or perhaps some broom effect to complement the look. The sky's the limit here, and with no word if Hogwarts Legacy will be supported after launch, it's possible the team could continue to expand this well after release. But at the end of the day, it all ties back to rewarding people's time and letting players choose what to chase and why. I love a good dragon encounter. They're scattered all throughout some of my favorite games, and that epic, larger-than-life experience, when done well, is just something that stays with me. We highlighted the lesser-known Hebridean Black Dragon in our recent creature video, and we know we'll have multiple run-ins with this particular dragon. Well, I for one think this aspect of the game could be expanded in a huge way. Think about a Monster Hunt-style encounter baked right inside of Hogwarts Legacy. It's unlikely we'd actually slay the beast, but rather save or tame them somehow. It would be the ultimate culmination of our Room of Requirement vivarium and an endgame experience that would allow us to raise and breed our very own dragons. Of course, this would be tied to some sort of legendary resource that we could then use to imbue our gear with dragon properties, but I am getting way ahead of myself there. Not only are dragons such a huge aspect of Harry Potter lore, but they're also tied to various regions of that world. This gives the developers the opportunity to stretch their wings and create instance locations apart from Hogwarts and the surrounding area. You could even tie this to a multiplayer element if the team wanted to take things down that road, but you don't have to. The story could be as simple as this. You're tasked by the Ministry of Magic to help rescue said dragon from poachers that are attempting to capture or kill it. In that process, you fight off bands of dark wizards, and it culminates in a boss-style encounter. At the end, you tame the creature, send it to your vivarium, and boom, you're now the proud owner of a dragon. Tie this entire system to unlockable mounts, and yeah, this system has some legs. There's really no limit to how far you could potentially push a dragon system either, and it naturally weaves into everything else already established in the game, so it's something I could see being a lot more realistic to develop in the grand scheme of this list. Games within games. It's a great way to get lost within the world and immerse yourself even deeper. Things like Gwent in The Witcher 3 or Five Finger Fillet in Red Dead Redemption 2. The Wizarding world is no different, and there's already a handful of minigames the team could have incorporated here, but as explained in the November showcase, the risk of scope creep was just too high to try and add all of them into the mix. I was both sad but also relieved to hear this. I desperately want these additional activities in the game, but not at the risk of other core content suffering. It was a good call, but that doesn't stop us from hoping we may see some of these things in the future. Arguably, one of the biggest is Quidditch. It's a no-brainer and a staple of almost any fan's wish list. Being able to grab your broom and play the game would be a ridiculously cool feature. Honestly, we think this one is more likely to come than not, possibly in a future content patch. The broom physics are already in place. The team even said they dabbled with the implementation, but took it out at the risk of scope creep. So we have a sneaking suspicion that this is still on a burner somewhere, and the team is waiting to continue development at just the right time. Wizard Chess. That's another well-known minigame in the world that seems it could be super fun and maybe straightforward to implement. There are no real major physics overhauls involved here, and it would be a really neat way to work in a meaningful reward system, especially around cosmetics and those achievement points we talked about earlier. I think I'd prefer to see this as a true life-size board that allows you major interactions with the characters via just a small board on a table, but honestly, either would be fun and a great nod to the lore. In the November showcase, one quest had us searching for missing gobstones, but alas, the devs also informed us this was not a playable minigame. We know that Portkey knows how to do this as they've implemented it in their other game, Hogwarts Mystery, so why not here? Again, it seems like a more reasonable thing to execute and one that wouldn't even need to have any direct game-affecting consequences. Just give us some cool cosmetic rewards and let that be that. I, for one, would love to see minigames implemented at some point, and sooner rather than later, but of course, let's launch the game and figure that out after the fact. Alright, let's switch gears and talk long-term wishlist item. What does DLC look like in the months and years to come? Well, for starters, how about additions in the context of a 6th or 7th year student? The world building, the class format, the students, and the systems to introduce new spells and items, it's all there. The sky's the limit here, as it can really be up to the team on how they want to deliver this content. Hogwarts Legacy takes place during our 5th year, so a 6th or even 7th year could provide tons of additional content that could quite honestly be full expansions if the team really wanted to. Think of all the established lore we have to pull from. In our 6th year, the entire DLC could be based around the Triwizard Tournament. That would introduce new wizarding schools into the mix, give the developers the freedom to create some absolutely show-stopping major content moments. It would fit perfectly within the timeline of Hogwarts Legacy. For those that don't know, this tourney has been around for multiple centuries, so it's not something out there at this point in the 1890s. Another idea the team could really lean into is the Ministry of Magic. For a place that's supposed to be the epicenter of order within the wizarding world, it's pretty clear throughout the books that it's actually the center of a lot of chaos. Given all the different departments within the ministry, you could easily work in some interesting storylines. You could have a whole training to be an Auror thing that takes your player across new parts of the world, tracking down all manner of bad witches, wizards, and creatures. If you really wanted to take a left turn, you could even do an entire expansion dedicated to the dark arts, giving players the choice which side of the wizarding world they want to be on. For those evil witches and wizards out there, and oh yes, we see you in the comments, this would be a wild dark fantasy come true. For all those more righteous ministry-loving folk, well, they have a part to play in this too as they defend the world from dark magic. Dare I say you could even make this the point where you add PvP in a Horde versus Alliance style system? Again, I am getting way ahead of myself here, but that's what's so fun about these types of videos. Hopefully you see my point, that there's just so much room for expansion. Keep in mind the team doesn't have to follow in the footsteps of the Harry Potter books. They could, within reason, create new content based on new ideas, as long as it still aligns within the macro wizarding world. That's kind of where Hogwarts Legacy fits into the picture anyways, right? It's part of the wizarding world at large, but it's a completely unique adventure with new characters and aspects of magic that have never been explored within the books. What's really important about this idea at its core is that the devs either commit or don't to continuing to support the game post-launch, and either answer is fine. At this point, we just don't know what the team's going to do. Will the Avalanche team developing the game continue to drop new content? I hope so, but it's unclear. What is clear is that the Hogwarts Legacy hype is real, and the ability to expand on its potential is near endless. There's never going to be an end to our list of features we'd love to see in Hogwarts Legacy, but we feel these 5 to some degree are realistic enough. What systems or content would you like to see within the game, and how likely do you think it is to happen? I'm sure you all have some incredible ideas, and we'd love to hear them. One thing's for sure, we'll be checking out the game on February 10th, and if you're interested in following along in our adventures in Hogwarts Legacy, we'd love to have you along for the ride. Drop a like below, and consider subscribing so you never miss out on a new video. Although Hogwarts Legacy is a single-player game, we still want to invite you to join our growing Legacy gaming community on Discord. We recently revamped the entire server with a special section just for Hogwarts Legacy, so check out the link below and join today. My name is Kodiak, and from everyone here at Legacy Gaming, thanks for watching, and play on.